Wow, I'm dumbfounded. Like, I mean, you just got on that roll right then. And as you were telling that story just then, there were those hypnotic story elements that were all interwoven. And I can tell, like, that's clearly someone who's a master of their craft, and it takes years to develop and get to that skill. I'm imagining when you first start out, having those simple formulas and structures for writing the story, it might be a good way to start. And then I'm imagining over the years, you start to develop different ways of telling the same story. For someone who's just, starting to get their feet wet in copywriting, is the idea of trying to get one basic story structure down that you like and then apply that throughout what you do, or does that become stale? Because you talk about not becoming an expert. To get to where you are now, everything that we talked about now, like, I mean, you embedded so much stuff into all of those different layers that you were just selling on multiple layers. It's probably even at a subconscious level, but for someone to do that who's just coming in, like, you're at a different league.
Actually, I'm not. I started out really clueless. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't understand a lot of stuff. I had a tiny little experience in an art department in a computer supply catalog. I was actually living in Silicon Valley in the late 70s, but I wasn't writing. I was creating the art for the catalog that would then be mailed out. And I met a copywriter, and I started getting interested in this. So it wasn't a head start. It was just, I had a little bit of an idea of what was going on. I thought, I can do that. I'd never met a freelancer. I'd only met copywriters who had been hired and worked within a company, but I knew freelancers existed. And I thought, I could do that. I could work on my house. And this is where I was at that point in my life. I didn't have any resources or anything. So what I did, Dave, was I started researching stuff as much as I could, hanging out with old school salesmen. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I'd moved from Silicon Valley down to Los Angeles, and it was there was a thriving freelance market down there. So I started meeting some freelancers. I just started risking things, and I just really kind of beat down doors and kind of made that happen. Now, you don't have to do that. People doing that now don't have to do that, because what I did back then was every time I had a success, I wrote it down. I kept thorough notes through my entire career. I still keep notes. That's what my blog is 6 years worth of notes. I wrote a newsletter for 5 years before that. And this is all about sharing my notes and my life is my career. And what's interesting about this is very early on, those early notes I took became a checklist that I would go through, much like AIDA is I used that for a while. Very quickly, I started adding to it and massaging it around. And I came up with this 17-point checklist that I started referring to that helped me understand what I needed to say, who I was talking to, what was the position that I or my client or the ad was going to be in, and all of the elements that I had to do to make sure that I had covered all the points that I knew that were going to make this sales message as powerful as possible. So what's interesting is, I mentioned that I came from a storytelling family, so I needed to do that. That doesn't mean that it immediately translated. And I was not an expert storyteller back then, especially trying to translate stories into sales messages into stories. So, and also my career started before NLP was started. So while I have friends who are conversant in NLP, I've never studied NLP. So I understand all the stuff about throwing anchors and all that stuff because I hang out with these guys. I have never been thoroughly impressed with that, and I never tried to do trickery or anything in this. One of the advantages you have as a marketer, if you want to get into weaving stories that sell, which, by the way, is the only way to become really successful, one of the big advantages you have is not some 10,000 hours to be able to spend with master mentors who, take you to a secret hill somewhere in Tibet and teach you how to do this magic stuff. No, it's having a simple checklist like I had, which is the essence of the simple writing system, but to just have a simple checklist to watch your back and then bring the passion that you have for what's going on, whatever your product is, whatever you're into, and realize that what you're doing, you really are changing lives. If the person you're talking to is a prospect for what you have, then his life is either on hold, he's got some level of trauma, he is in need. His life is incomplete to some level, might be a low level, might be a high level, without what you have. Now he's either going to he's in heat. He's looking for something. He's either going to get it from you or he's going to get it from someone else, or he's going to wander off and do something else. At the point that you are in front of him, either your website's in front of him, your video, your email, your letter, whatever's in front of him, at that point, the advantage that you bring to the table, if you know just a few things that you need to cover, is your passion, is your ability to say, you know what, here's what happened to me, or here's my tale, and blah, blah, blah. People get confused. In that situation, the key point here is that you care about what you offer and it's a legitimate, ethical, good product. The person you're talking to is in your target market. You don't care if he's not. If you're selling nails, for example, and he doesn't need nails, then no matter how good your story is, it's not going to have any effect on the guy. Now, if the guy needs nails to finish a project, he may be looking at a number of different possibilities for getting those nails, and you're one of many. But as you tell your story, his need and your offer coincide. Now, whether you close the deal or not doesn't matter. Let's make it different. Let's say I'm a business owner, with a brick and mortar business owner, downtown Melbourne. I sell meat pies, and I need to get online because my competitors are actually catering meat pies to places outside of Melbourne, and I'm losing out big time on this. So I need to get online, and I haven't got a clue how to get online. And you can tell me how to get online, how to get my business going, how to do it right, so I don't have to spend a year to 2 years making all these mistakes and wandering down blind alleys and trying to figure this out on my own. You can teach me in 2 days everything I need to know. Then, our passion intersects at that point. I have a need. You have the ability to fulfill that need. And now it's up to you to make me understand that the price is good. It's a genuine value. I don't risk anything if I come on board. You really are the guy to deal with. How do you do that? Now think about the passion you can put into this. You're not trying to convince me I need to go online. I know that, but that's about as much as I know. I don't understand anything else. You can't talk jargon with me. There's a lot of things that you're going to lose me on, and I'm going to be paying really close attention because I really want to leave. This is making me nervous, and I'm pretty sure I don't want to be, quote, sold, unquote. But I'm interested. I need to find out about this stuff. So if you can have that conversation, just pretend you're in a bar and I'm next to you, and you hear me say to the bartender, wow, my life is miserable. I need to get online or my meat pie business is going south in a hurry. And you turn to me and you say, I'm sorry, I couldn't help overhearing. You need to get online. That's what I do. And then what do you say after that? Now, remember, in the real world, I'm not your best buddy. You're a stranger to me, and I'm actually appalled that you would interrupt my conversation, so I am not ready to sit down and listen to you. What you have to say to me in those first few sentences needs to be able to capture my attention, start building my interest, and start giving me a reason to listen to what you say next, and give me a reason to get interested in you and what you have to say. And the first hint that you're going to sell me something or you're going to come across like a used car salesman, I'm out of there. I can bolt at any time. I can say, wow, that was miserable. I went in for a pint, and instead this guy rips my ear off trying to tell me about some weird online thing he has. Well, if I've already identified myself as a guy who needs what you offer, that, helping people get online, think about how you could blow it, and then think about how you could make it work. And how you make it work is all salesmanship. Telling a story, making sure that you're paying attention to me, not to your story. It's not about you. It's about me and my needs. And once you understand these few basic elements of weaving a good sales story, we can call it, or sales message within a story, then you're off to the races. But until you learn that stuff, or if you think, I'll learn it, or I've been in business for 20 years, I know this stuff. Well, maybe you do and maybe you don't. But if you're not doing well, if you have gaps, if you know you're leaving $10 or $100 on the table for every dollar you bring in, if you know your competition is smoking you and about to leave you behind, then you better learn this stuff. It's very easy. It's very quick. If you deal with a guy like me, I've been around the block so many times I can't even remember how many times I've been around. And the knowledge and advice that I give you is not theory. I'm still in the frontline trenches of marketing. I'm a major online marketer. In fact, I'm a super affiliate. Even though I'm old school, I'm the one that the younger guys go to learn the basics, and then they go off and weave their magic. So, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to kind of, there's a lot of opportunities out there to learn how to do things, to be taught things, to do stuff. It can get really confusing. It seems to be really time consuming, but please, my message to anybody, and I say this in all sincerity and all urgency, get the basics down first. It's not tough. It's not voodoo. It's not magic. It is easy, but you're probably not going to figure it out on your own. And even if you dedicate yourself to figuring this out on your own, in other words, go talking to old school salesmen, go trying to read all the books there are out there, trying to, do trial and error and go down the dark alleys and try all this. It's going to take you a very, very long time to learn it on your own. Or over a very short period, you can get the shortcuts delivered you from a guy who's already been there.